It's time to add some spice to your nooner. Nooner funny. This is the place where big-time guests, bold opinions, and little cute doggies come together. This is Rothman and Ice.
Sponsored by Pella Columbus, the #1 rated windows and doors in Columbus.
All right, here we go. On a not-so-rando Tuesday, Rothman and Ice back at it. Anthony Rothman, Matty Ice Hayes, and CB. How we feeling, boys?
Oh, I'm feeling good. You know why I'm feeling good? Because you're back in the house. Last night, my tribal chief, your tribal chief, our tribal chief returned at Madison Square Garden and curb stomped the hell out of Seth Rollins and speared CM Punk to the afterlife. So I am doing well because Roman Reigns is back and WrestleMania season is on and popping. Not only do we have that going on, but I'm holding right now in my hand, AR, a sheet that says we're handing out 2 sweet passes to see the Blue Jackets take on the New Jersey Devils on Monday, March 17th. Hang out in a suite with us next Monday night at Nationwide Arena. We're giving these away at some point throughout the show, so stick with us because AR is going to make it rain kettle chips in the suite next Monday.
First of all, it's going to be a massive game because it's against the Devils. And they get the Devils tonight on the road. It may be, I mean, they're kind of calling this the biggest game of the year, especially for New Jersey, who's lost some players, and Dougie Hamilton's out now for an extended period of time. And the fact that they feel like when the Jackets beat them in December that, you know, Elvis got a little lucky and that they outplayed the Jackets and still lost the game. Yeah. They see them in the rearview mirror. Objects are closer than they appear. And that is the Jackets right now. So this is a massive game. They righted the ship and whacked the Rangers on the road, which was a vital game. And I told you if I had to rank these, I would have put them right in this order. Rangers, Devils, and then take your pick on Tampa and Florida. And I think I said Tampa only because I thought that game was maybe more winnable because Vasilevsky wasn't in the net and you were facing Bobrovsky at Florida on that Thursday. But either way, if they win this, they've won the 2 key games of the road trip. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to get both these games on your home ice where you've been just dynamite. The one thing that I will, the big thing about beating the Rangers was not only beating them because it was huge in the standings, it was to kind of prove to yourselves that you could win on the road in a tough place, in a meaningful place, a team that wanted to win that thing because the Jackets, and it really is amazing what they've done to this point of the season with this squad, is they've not only done that, they've done it with a road record of 11-18-4. That's not good, putting it mildly. So the fact that this is so top-heavy with the 26-4 record at Nationwide, that's why this is so key tonight. Not only could you pick off 2 teams that are vital in this race for the playoffs, you'd be picking them off on the road. Mm-hmm. And so that's why it's absolutely huge tonight. So looking forward to that, my man. Yeah, no doubt, man. I'm looking forward to people joining us in the suite. Those are special tickets in a playoff run at home against that team. This is not some throwaway game against San Jose. This is a big game.
It's going to be a good night, man. It's going to be absolutely a great time and looking forward to whoever wins these tickets and us getting to spend some time with them. CB's going to bring the shot ski board, so we'll take some shots with you as well. And so it'll be absolutely electric in the building, and the Jackets have earned that. This fan base has been awesome over the last few years when they've had to go through an up and down ride as far as what the product on the ice is going to look like. But when the Jackets come out of that tunnel and touch those skates on that ice at Nationwide Arena, more times than not, the fifth liners have seen some good things and wins, more importantly. So this is what you love as a fan, to have your team at this portion of the calendar in the mix, contending for things that are important. And what a ride it's been. And I cannot wait to be in the building, but more importantly, watch them over the next few days, hopefully stay in contention and do their thing. And it starts with the Devils tonight.
I think after the Stadium Series, we did transition from a team, like I like to say, should to could, or could to should, rather. Like when they have this making the playoff vibe. It was one of those things where they've kind of been a little bit on, the little engine that could, the sympathetic figure of the NHL, clearly, and the fact that nobody thought they'd be here, so it feels like house money, less pressure, Zach setting records, them going through injury, surviving, Elvis playing better, Coach Dean, in a Coach of the Year conversation and all that. But now I feel like since they've kind of been holding down a playoff spot and we only have, 19 games left, Vegas still doesn't believe they're going to make it. Vegas is giving them kind of the Cavs treatment.
Well, they hate
It's kind of like, still offering the Cavs at 7-1 to win it all, on a massive win streak. Telling you right now that the Jackets shouldn't make the playoffs. I'm probably going to double down on my bet in Bet365 today, later on at 220, and I'll give you those odds later.
Okay.
It's not an overwhelming thing that they're trashing them.
Yeah.
It's just that there's still profit to be made if you think the Jackets are making the playoffs. Vegas has not taken to this. They've not said we're exposed on the Blue Jackets.
Wake them up.
They don't feel like
we
that.
got to wake them up. It was good to see ARD. You look up at the scoreboard after that Rangers game the other day, and they got 7 on their side. Could you go down?
No empty netters either, right?
Yeah, I don't believe so, right? And you go down to Tampa and you score a combined 2 goals in those games, I believe.
In Florida, yeah.
Down in Florida. So, and we talked about how tough that is with the Lightning and the Panthers and how good those franchises are. But to see the offensive production bounce right back to where it's been for the most part has been great. And I think that's been one of the biggest surprises, how consistently the offense puts pressure on the opposing team and the opposing defense and goaltending. And so for those guys, I think to get that mental boost again, that they can light up the net the way that they know they have all year has been great. And now they come back into a building that they're very comfortable in tonight, on the road, and then coming back for Vegas in a couple days against a team that's been okay. But the Devils tonight is the focus. And I think where Coach Dean has had these guys all year has just been great stuff, right? You're talking about a coach that came into a situation where there's a lot on the line as far as the emotional part of this franchise and where that was headed this year with the unfortunate stuff that happened to Johnny. And I just think he and his staff have been very, very impressive with getting the guys to where they need to be and just both parties working together, the players and the coaching staff. It's been a heck of a ride, but they got to finish, right? Job's not done, as Kobe Bryant said. They're in the mix right now for playoff contention, but if this thing, goes the other way over the next couple of games, and you never know where it could be in a negative way. So just consistent play, what we've seen from them, they bring that team onto the ice over the next few games, and I think we're going to be talking about a postseason team.
Yeah, let's get them back to where they were with the power play. They're kind of a middling team, but they're much better in years past than they right now. They're much better than they used to be on the power play, 20+%. They're always in the kind of the middle teens. They're 0 for their last 6, though. They were 0 for 6 in the state of Florida in the last couple games on the power play. So we got to kind of get that going because that's something that'll be big for them. They won a game against the Rangers, as you said, where they didn't have to score on the power play. They gave up they gave a couple shorties, which was crazy time, and still won 7-3. So, yeah, I agree with you. The vibe is back. We'll have a lot to do today. We'll talk with our friend Jason B. Hirschhorn, bottom of the hour. He's the award-winning NFL writer, co-founder of The Leap, the Packers newsletter, but all the free agency merry-go-round that's happening now will hit him. We'll have Jeff Lloyd on, Orange and Brown Report. We'll find out if certainly Pickett's going to be a +1, you would think. Somebody's in the mix here, and we'll get to that. And then Ray Fittipaldo will check in the Steel City and see if they really are peeking around Aaron Rodgers and flipping on the light in his dark room.
It sounds like Rodgers has a little bit of leverage going on right now with the Giants being in the mix with Pittsburgh. So he's got 2 parties. It sounds like trying to acquire his services, which is where you want to be when you're a free agent. The money's not going to be anything crazy, but right now it does feel like there's some momentum behind either the Steelers or the New York Giants for old Aaron and his ayahuasca stuff that he likes to get into.
We will get into the Brownies next, and they're trying to Band-Aid this quarterback position. Is the big bandage on the way? And, Maddie, my little barnstorming nostalgia tour had another big stop yesterday. I'll tell you exactly what I did when we come back. Rothman and Ice in the Fan.
A lot of hosts have been on our airways in the past 30 years. Some good, some bad, some really bad. Anyway, sorry for that. The Fan.
Need inspiration? Shop Kroger for mouth-watering meals and appetizing ingredients. Our low prices add up to big savings, plus over $600 in digital coupons each week, and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump. At Kroger, you always get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Right now, 80% lean ground beef is on sale. 3-pound packages are only $3.99 a pound with your card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
The best matchup is you in a new Kia from Coughlin Kia. Get into a new Kia now with $0 down. Get 0% financing on select new Kias and make 0 payments for 3 months on any new Kia in stock. Visit CoughlinKia.com.
Coughlin has the car for you.
0% for 72 equals $13.89 per 1,000 financed on Nero EV, EV6, and EV9 with approved credit through Kia Motor Finance. 90 days deferred payments until June 2025. Qualified manufacturer incentives to dealer. Prior sales excluded. No security deposit. Residency restrictions may apply. Offers cannot be combined. See dealer for details. Ends 3/31/25.
Basketball from noon to midnight. Scotty Vegas here, and we're throwing a Vegas-style basketball party at Hollywood Casino at the ESPN Bet Sportsbook. I even went out to Vegas to scout out how to throw this party. Tough assignment. The Fan is doing 24 hours of watch parties. The opening weekend of the tournament, there'll be custom T-shirts, Pop-A-Shot, horse games. Oh, and don't miss a game with a 50-foot video wall. Reserve your spot at HollywoodColumbus.com. Must be 21 or older to enter. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The Open Season Sportsman's Expo, presented by Progressive and Can-Am, this Friday through Sunday heads to the Ohio Expo Center. Tickets on OpenSeasonSportsman'sExpo.com. Buy early and save. Be sure to check out Tacticam and Toyota Tundra, official cell cam and truck of the Expo.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
They say great customer service is a thing of the past, but not at Newman Roofing. Quality products, expert installers, and a team you can trust is the core foundation at Newman Roofing. Call 614-NEW-ROOF today to have your roofing, siding, or gutters replaced this spring, or visit online at newmanroofing.com.
Make your money go further with on-the-spot savings at Rent-A-Center. Right now, get top furniture and appliance brands starting as low as $19.99 per week in rent without using credit. Only at Rent-A-Center. Rental purchase agreement. Pricing valid February 9th, 2025 to April 5th, 2025 on new merchandise at participating locations. You will not own merchandise until the total amount necessary to acquire ownership is paid in full or you exercise your early purchase option. Ownership is optional. See store for details.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's time to sign up for the Fan at 10 TV Bracket Challenge.
Sponsored by Mountain Dew, Ohio Bottled, Buckeye Bold.
The most accurate bracket takes home 1,000 smackers. Reserve your spot now and compete against your favorite fan and 10 TV personalities. And compete against the ones you hate, too. Head to 971thefan.com for all the fun. Yay! March is fun. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Do you want a job that is flexible, secure, and fun? It also offers excellent pay and is ranked as one of the best jobs in America, too. I'm talking about being a dental hygienist. And all you have to do is complete a 2-year program after high school. Visit ODA.org to learn more and to start helping people love their smile. This message is brought to you by the members of the Ohio Dental Association.
Feeling the aches and pains of everyday life slowing you down? Introducing Blue Emu, America's #1 emu oil formula for pain relief. In a recent clinical trial, 91% of users saw improvement after using Blue Emu. Whether you're working hard, playing harder, or just staying active, Blue Emu penetrates deep to relieve joint and muscle pain fast. And best of all, you won't stink. Join the 91% who felt the difference. Find Blue Emu at your local retailer or online. Blue Emu works fast and you won't stink.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Talk about a bright afternoon today. Lots of sunshine, high around 70. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, high 68. Thursday, partly sunny, high of 70. Don't forget Thursday night and the Friday morning, we have that total lunar eclipse. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud with your 10 TV weather impact forecast on 97.1 The Fan.
Bet365, the official online sports book of Rothman and Ice. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Always as tender as a well-done steak. This is Rothman and Ice.
All right, so appreciate you and T covering me yesterday.
Oh, yeah, man. Anytime.
Did a little warm glow shuffle. Did not stop at the candle shop for you.
It's all good. Listen,
it was a choice.
I've been burning that cinnamon roll candle you got me.
Cinnamon
It's been treating me right.
Yeah.
You know, I like to dim the lights, light the candles for the shower, play a little music, maybe play a podcast or something. So I appreciate it. The candle is off and running and working right now for you.
Let me know when it gets down to a below the slash, and then we'll get you another one. So I did see the warm glow candle shop, and I had it was a beautiful day yesterday. Obviously, the drive back from Chicago was fine, and, the weather was perfect. And 100 times I've driven past Knightstown, Indiana. Knightstown, Indiana is exactly what you think. It's a tiny little town, not named after Bobby Knight, which is kind of ironic. But the fact that those little Indiana towns, not southern Indiana, but right off of 70, and there's a big billboard now, and anyone can go there, and it's the Hoosier Gym. And listen, I know it's old, and I'm nostalgic for the 80s movies, but if you're a sports guy and you like movies, you know Hoosiers is right up there. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Gene Hackman just passed away, and I'd never gone, because I never wanted to add another hour to an already 7-hour trip. I always said, it's the same reason if I would go up through Fort Wayne or go near South Bend. All right, you want to go to South Bend and drive around the stadium? No, I don't. I'll do it another time. Mm-hmm. So I've always said that about Knightstown, that because the Hoosier Gym is there. And what people want to know, does it cost anything to go in? No, it doesn't. Is it the same gym that they filmed the movie? Yes, it is. Have they kept it exactly the same? Yes, they have. And they've even added to it over the years with some old stuff. It was a gym that was built in, I think, the 20s and kind of refurbished in the 30s. And when they were picking these gyms to shoot Hoosiers, the reason that they chose, and the reason I know this, is because this wonderful husband and wife that kind of run the place, this guy, Larry, is a graduate of Knightstown High School. Knightstown High School is where they filmed, that's the gym. The Hickory Huskers, the fictitious name, based on the team of the Milan Indians that won many, many years ago in the 50s. So that's what the movie was named after. They changed the name. My brother asked me, why didn't they use the real name of the high school? I'm like, it's Hollywood. It sounded better. Hickory Huskers sounded better than Milan or whatever. So I'm asking this guy, Larry graduated from this high school in 1971. The movie was filmed in 86. And so 15 years after, he's still in his town. His wife runs the little gift shop there. And I go in on a Monday at 2 o'clock, and it's not like thousands of people are going. I think this week will be big because the Big Ten basketball tournament being in Indianapolis.
Oh, yeah.
People like me, older people, want to go and see where Hoosiers was filmed. They can go there, and you walk in, and it doesn't cost anything, and you can shoot some hoops. There's a rack of balls there, and you feel like you're walking onto a Hollywood movie set. You just do. You feel like you're stepping into a fairy tale. And with Gene Hackman dying, I felt like of all the times I've never done this, this would be the time to do it. Stop now. It's a beautiful day. You got the time, daylight savings, the whole deal. Oh, yeah. We gain an hour of sunlight. Let's just do it. So it's about 8 minutes off the highway. And once you get off the highway, they're not like signs. It's not like Kings Island where they're telling you exactly where to go. You have to just kind of find it.
Got to map quest it up.
Yes, you got to print it out and map quest it up. That's right. And so I stop there, and there's a little academy next to it at the old school that's not used anymore. It's like a senior center, I think. But the gym is the gym. And if you're a movie buff and a sports movie buff and it hits you right, with the heartstrings like it does me, so I go in there, and my head's spinning. They got Hoosiers playing on a loop in the lot on the TV, and there's nobody there. And I walk in, I go in the gym, and it's a beautiful day, and then this other kid shows up, and he's shooting. Comes in and shoots a couple baskets. And I said, would you mind taking a picture for me? He goes, absolutely. Took a picture. And then I said, hey, would you take a video of me? I want to send this to my brother, of me shooting a basket at Hickory. And so I start at the free throw line, and he's behind me. And I'm just shooting it regular, and
cashing them out.
No, I'm bricking. So now this kid's holding my phone, and I put 3 up on target, but bricks, like front iron, that kind of stuff. The balls aren't perfect, but I'm not making excuses for myself. I was bricking. So I look at the kid and I'm like, man, we might be here a while till I drain one of these. And then I stop and I say, why are you shooting it overhand? Ollie in the movie shot it underhand. You're at Hickory. Shoot it underhand. The first and only underhand shot I took, banked it in.
Bottoms.
Done. It's over. I'll never shoot another basket again. That's there. Amazing. And I feel like, and I went down in the locker room and just kind of sat there, and it was like, I've been on this little like old movie tour, and it was the easiest thing to do. And I know it hits me better than it would hit anybody else because, you know, I was around, I was at Indiana, movie comes out, you know, it just had a different feel for me. And they were telling me stories about Gene Hackman that he stayed there, Maddie, in the town, paid a kid for a little bicycle when they were filming, rode it up to the bar, and they're like, what are you doing here? He's like, well, I'm playing a Hoosier. I need to know what a Hoosier is.
Yeah.
And just sat there at the bar. I can't imagine in the 80s, you know, pre-cell phone, pre-internet.
The good times.
And this iconic actor rolling around this tiny little town.
That's cool.
And anyway, so that was good. That was a bucket list place for me.
Granny shot for the win.
That's right.
Granny shot for the win.
I banked it. Ollie didn't bank it. I don't think he did. But I concentrated on what I was doing, and I put the ball in the hole.
There you go.
That's what happened. What did you think of this? When the Browns signed Kenny Pickett, did it even register?
My
did the
mind
needle
went
move
to,
at all?
No, because my mind went to, well, who's next? Who else is coming into town? Because this can't be the answer. Whether it's via the draft or somebody else in free agency, I was expecting another move. Kenny Pickett was in Philadelphia last year as a backup. I think he started one game, looked okay. We know what he is at this point, right? He's a serviceable backup, and I think for Kevin Stefanski and the Browns, this isn't a bad move at all. We know that they don't have a bunch of money to spend on a quarterback, so looking at some of the backup quarterbacks and the numbers that have been thrown at those guys the last few years, you weren't going to get one of the top backup guys. And in some teams' cases, like, you know, the Colts right now with Daniel Jones, you're definitely not throwing 1 year, $14 million at somebody. So they had to make a move to bolster up that quarterback room. I do think he is a better backup than DTR with what we saw from DTR. So there's a bit of a safer floor there, but it's nothing that really moves the needle or I think is going to excite Browns fan. It's the other part of it that where the intrigue comes into play as to, you know, what path are they going to go down to find a starter for next year and hopefully for this foreseeable future.
So Stefanski was, well, I'll tell you what, let's play the bite first. This is from Zach Jackson, who covers the Browns for The Athletic.
He's a backup. Now, history would say he's going to play and play a lot, right? But he was not acquired to become the number one quarterback. So probably by the weekend they'll have Kirk Cousins. March 16th is when the Falcons owe him $10 million, and everybody expects that they won't pay him that. So if they do, you know, we'll see what's next. But probably Kirk Cousins always has been number one plan. You know, that's kind of been out there since December.
And that's credit to 92.3 up in Cleveland. You mentioned that was Zach Jackson. What are your thoughts on? I know CB's completely out on Kirk Cousins as a Browns fan. He thinks he's done. What would you think of that move?
So his thought, I think, is I wouldn't call him done, and I wouldn't know because he and I aren't doctors. We don't know what he's feeling. But for me to tell you that they need to get Kirk Cousins because he flourished under Stefanski when he was Cousins' quarterbacks coach, then his OC, and he was hitting at 70% and 56 touchdowns and 17 picks. And like, I think we're then living in the past. He isn't that same guy that Stefanski had, but I do think that he certainly is better than what they have. I don't think he's done. I would disagree with CB that he's done. I think he was injured towards last year. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're asking me whether he's the answer in the future, then he's absolutely right. He's not the future.
You like that? Get ready to play that a lot this year. I hear what you're saying, AR, because I don't know if that guy still exists. The guy that you mentioned that was in Minnesota and lighting up defenses for a whole bunch of years.
Kubiak helped him, too, in 19. He was good under Kubiak.
I remember we played a clip from Kevin Stefanski at the Combine where he was talking about Cam Ward, I believed, and he touched on some of the things that he wants from a quarterback. And it was decision-making, pulling the trigger at the right time, and taking care of the football. I think Kevin Stefanski would look at a guy like Kirk Cousins right now and think that's what I'm going to get. Because he went through the Flacco experience, he went through the Jameis Winston experience, and maybe Kirk Cousins doesn't have that type of peak the way those guys have with the arm talent that Flacco and Jameis has, but I think you'd be willing to give some of that up as a play caller to where you dial up something good and it's there. You know that Kirk Cousins is more times than not going to get the ball to where it needs to go. And I think that probably drove Kevin Stefanski nuts last year, where he as a play caller saw some things on tape that, man, I called the right play here, but Jameis went the other way or tried to throw it into a window that wasn't there. And I have to imagine when he looks at Cousins, he thinks that he's going to get a good decision maker first. Yeah. And I think that's going to bring some security to Kevin Stefanski mentally, more so than the other guys that have been in there.
5, 6, 7 years ago, this guy was setting records. It was an odd thing. People didn't know how good Kirk Cousins was. He was the only player in NFL history to throw for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns and complete 70% of his passes. Like, he was checking every box. And I do think that, and I think this is true, Maddie, for most NFL quarterbacks, that these guys get blamed for frustrating seasons and they don't spread it around. It's all on the quarterback. And that's not totally fair. But I think the hope here is that if Cousins is the guy that's going to come in and stabilize this thing, then he's familiar, the offensive scheme, then everything there, he could help the Browns lead them out of this maybe little dark time and kind of bridge the gap to whatever's next. Or you just eat it again. You eat another bad season. And I don't think they're in that business of doing that. No, the guys that run the team.
The timing of what Zach Jackson said is very interesting, that this could happen fairly quickly by the end of the week. So you have two things going on here. Either they're going to go down that path and bring in Kirk Cousins, who's going to be pretty cheap, which is where the Browns have to be as far as acquiring a quarterback, or you go the other path of, hey, whoever falls to us at 2, if we really like that guy, we'll bring in Cam or Shador and try to rock out that way as well.
All right, quickly, I got an email, and they ask Maddie or CB whether they've actually seen Hoosiers.
I have.
You have?
And I did not enjoy it. It didn't do much.
Did not enjoy it.
Yeah, it didn't do much for me. Respect to Gene.
Just
didn't. It's kind of to me. Yeah, that's where I was at when I got done. Like, okay,
you're not a big old movies guy, and this is depicted. This is an '80s movie depicted in the '50s, and so it's double old for you.
Yeah, just didn't see the vision. So watched it once, and I was like, "Yep, that's it for me."
Okay, one and done. We'll come back with Jason B. Hirschhorn, and we'll ask him. Good idea to go with cousin Kirk. Rothman and Ice on the Fan.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
New treatments for joint pain are here. By now, you've heard about regenerative medicine. If you're wondering if you're a good candidate, answer these questions. First, does chronic pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, or other joints keep you from doing the things you enjoy? Golfing, jogging, time with the family. Does it hurt doing the things you need to do, like getting out of bed, sleeping, working, and walking? And finally, do you want to avoid surgery and all of the pain, long recovery, and uncertainty that comes with it? If you answered yes to any of those, you need to call QC Kinetics now. Learn about exciting advancements in regenerative treatments that can give you long-lasting pain relief with no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. Get your free consultation today. Call QC Kinetics. That's QC Kinetics. Here's the phone number.
Call now, 380-208-4544. That's 380-208-4544. QC Kinetics, 380-208-4544.
Rothman and Ice is sponsored by your local Pella Window and Door showroom on Gemini Parkway. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Anthony once ran the table on the World 9-Ball champion.
Coincidentally, Maddie is out looking for a magic 8-ball. Signs point to this is Rothman and Ice.
All right, welcome back into Rothman and Ice. We love talking to Jason B. Hirschhorn, the award-winning NFL writer, co-founder of The Leap, the Packers newsletter, and he's with us now on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems fan guest hotline. Jason, welcome back.
Glad to be back. Let's talk some free agency.
Yeah, let's talk the quarterback situation with Cleveland right now. And so they grabbed Kenny Pickett here as kind of a young, cheap, maybe there's a future still, but no way they're giving him the keys to the franchise. We know that. There is some talk that Stefanski could be reunited with Kirk Cousins at some point. If that happens, do you like that for Cleveland?
Well, if Kirk Cousins went to Cleveland, I think that's a reasonable match with Kevin Stefanski for all the reasons you already stated. I do think, though, that the Kenny Pickett acquisition tells you about where that franchise thinks it's going this season. Not that Kenny Pickett is going to be the week 1 to week 17 or whatever starter, but that their big veteran addition, gearing up for an addition somewhere during the draft. Maybe it's round 1, maybe it's later on, but I don't think you make that move unless you feel like that was the most reasonable of your options. Keep in mind, even though this is going to be Kenny Pickett's third team, he's still on his rookie deal. He's very cost-effective from that perspective. I think that frees them up to maybe invest in other positions and then also go get the quarterback they like in this draft.
So for a little bit of time there, it seemed like Justin Fields would be headed back to Pittsburgh, and then we found out yesterday afternoon that's not the case. He's going over to Gotham City, and he's going to be the new quarterback for the New York Jets. What are your thoughts on the deal they handed over to him and your thoughts on the fit for Fields now moving forward?
In terms of the deal, I think they viewed it as being something akin to what the Vikings did with Sam Darnold last year, but without the lack of contractual runway the following year. If Justin Fields plays well in 2025, they actually have a basis to negotiate off of because that Fields deal runs 2 years, not one. Whereas conversely, if Fields does not play well, they can get off of that deal after 1 year if they want. So from that perspective, I think it was smart. Now, in terms of the fit, I have a lot of questions there. And I know people are going to make the connection between Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson and say, like, well, that's something that worked at Ohio State. Why can't it work in New York? I think that ignores a lot of what we've seen from Justin Fields in the NFL. He can be an effective player in certain ways, but over the course of a year, we haven't seen it once. Now, with the Bears, certainly not last year when he was the starter with the Steelers. I think this is a guy who they're hoping can actually outperform what he's done, but I don't think they really expect it. I don't think we're done seeing the Jets make quarterback acquisitions. Even if it doesn't happen the rest of free agency or even in the draft, I think that they did this knowing that their long-term starter is not currently on the roster.
Jason, where do you stand on what the Bengals are dealing with right now? You know, they're paying a quarterback $55 million a year. We know that. Chase is going to want to maybe even eclipse the Myles Garrett deal as being the highest paid non-quarterback. We know Trey Hendrickson was maybe gunning for something Max Crosby-like, and then T certainly frustrated playing on the tag again. Are you blaming Cincinnati right now for the way they've handled this, or do you feel like this is just these guys are maybe like T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson might be trying to break the bank and maybe they're not quite deserving?
The mistakes that the Bengals made with some of these players was not dealing with the contract earlier. That's not groundbreaking analysis, right? Like, had the Bengals made an offer that Jamar Chase would have accepted a year ago, Jamar Chase is probably on one of the best veteran contracts in the NFL right now. So you can look at it from that perspective and say, yes, the Bengals made mistakes, but you can't undo that at this point. Given the options available for them this offseason, there's a scenario, I suppose, where you could have paid all of those guys, but I don't know that's the right way to build the team, given what those players will cost. I mean, if you add them all up with the contracts they are eventually going to get, it would have been something like 40% of the salary cap. You just can't put that much of the salary cap into so few players, even if they're all across the board really good to great players. So they made choices, right? Like Jamar Chase is going to be a part of that team for the foreseeable future. They want to make T. Higgins a part of that team for the foreseeable future. Those are younger players. You can understand why they chose those over Trey Hendrickson, who, even though he led the NFL in sacks last year, is going to be in his 30s. It's just a harder bet to make when you have to make some. So I guess I understand from that perspective what they're doing now. The mistakes weren't deciding that they're going to trade, or at least open to a trade of Trey Hendrickson in 2025. It's not dealing with some of these contracts a year plus earlier.
We've had so many transactions over the last 24 to 48 hours. It's been a lot of fun to monitor. But for you personally, Jason, what's been your favorite move that maybe isn't a headliner for a lot of people, but you looked at what that team did and the player or players that they got and said they're on to something there?
I'm glad you asked, because my favorite contract of all these free agent contracts thus far has been Chase Young. And he's a big name, right, especially in your market because of what he did at Ohio State. But I think people are sleeping on what he did for the Saints last season, because that team played so poorly for most of the year. Chase Young finished last season, the last regular season, top 10 in pressures, and he just signed a multi-year deal that averages like the 17th most money for an edge rusher. Like, that's a really good contract for a veteran. You consider that Chase Young basically had all of the pass rusher needy teams potentially available to him. So I thought that was a good deal for the Saints. I also liked, again, for the money, Byron Murphy to the Vikings, or going back to the Vikings, and then Davante Adams. I think you can see the vision in both of those moves. Those were reasonable costs for the player, especially with Adams, because they needed someone to win on the outside consistently. They didn't have that last year. And in terms of the money in 2025, it's like a 1-to-1 trade-off with what they're going to remove when they eventually do cut Cooper Kupp. So those were the moves that I thought, yeah, those are named players, but they weren't like the biggest moves in terms of what got attention on social media, on TV, and all of those things.
Jason B. Hirschhorn with us, NFL award-winning writer, and we're talking NFL and free agency. The Darnold thing is interesting because we kind of knew he was going to get less money. You know, now seeing the money that Darnold got, I want to ask you about what in the world the Vikings may have been offering, if anything, because it feels like the price that he signed with Seattle might have been something the Vikings would have been interested in doing. Now, I know they want to see what J.J. McCarthy's about, but now that they've lost Darnold and they just have J.J. and they have nobody backing him up right now because Daniel Jones is going to the Colts, give me your take on both those things, the Vikings letting Darnold walk and then the money he signed for with Seattle.
So let's start with the McCarthy part of this. I think that they both let Darnold go, and not that they didn't pursue Daniel Jones, but they appear to be comfortable with Daniel Jones going for like a 1 year, I think it's $14 million or thereabouts deal to the Colts. I think they're signaling pretty strongly that they feel confident in J.J. McCarthy's health. Now, we don't know what he's going to be as a quarterback in the NFL yet. That remains undetermined. The Vikings don't even know that, but they made that bet already. And the real question in terms of how they were going to build the team this year was, do you think that he's going to be able to play from like a health standpoint, or do you think he's going to need a little bit of time coming off of that meniscus tear, and you might want a veteran to bridge to that? I think we kind of got the answer there. I think they feel good about that knee, and they'll figure out the rest come training camp. Now, the Darnold part of this, he also kind of knew that McCarthy was their long-term plan. Even if Darnold had gotten that deal, maybe even a bigger deal hypothetically with the Vikings, he kind of knew at some point that J.J. McCarthy was going to be the starter there. It just made sense from the way they were building the rest of the team. A quarterback on a rookie deal allows you to do a lot of things that even the deal that Sam Darnold signed with the Seahawks would not have allowed the Vikings to do. So I think he probably said, hey, if I'm going to get decent enough money in a place where I know I am going to be the starter this year and very likely the following season, that's a better bet for me. And, you know, Sam Darnold could go to Seattle, obviously that's the plan right now, and could have hypothetically a very good year, and then maybe leverage that into a bigger deal again a year from now. They can't extend him or rework that deal again at that point. So the money with him, I think, is a little more fungible in that regard. But I think it says more about the opportunity. He knows he's the starter in Seattle. He was going to be the starter at the beginning of the season had he returned to the Vikings, but beyond that, we don't know. I think that's the big thing to remember with Sam Darnold.
Let's stay in the NFC West and go over to San Francisco. I mean, this has been one of the franchises that's been right there in the mix over the last few years, but a lot of key contributors that we've seen over the last couple of seasons are now out on their way to other teams. Your thoughts on what San Francisco is doing right now?
Nothing about this is actually really surprising when you look at their books. We could have predicted this a year ago because they were handing out relatively big deals to Brandon Ayuk. They're obviously doing stuff with Trent Williams, and they still plan to extend Brock Purdy. Well, that money has to come from somewhere, and they were already pretty leveraged with a lot of these veteran contracts. So that's why you're seeing a lot of these guys, both in terms of the releases and in terms of the starters that are allowed to leave in free agency, go out the door. That doesn't mean that the 49ers won't be able to compete this year, but this was always essentially the plan. Not that you want to lose those players, but that's what happens when you push your chips in for a 2-ish year Super Bowl run like they did the past 2 seasons. I think we're going to see a very different looking 49ers team, even if it's going to operate somewhat similarly to what they've been the last few years. And that's just the reality of the salary cap NFL. You do have to make tough choices at some point. We're seeing this with a lot of teams. We just talked about the Bengals at the top of this. It's a similar situation in San Francisco.
Fun stuff, Jason. Always appreciate your insight, man. Keep an eye on it, and we'll ring you back soon.
Looking forward to it. Take care, guys.
Thanks a lot. Jason B. Hirschhorn, co-founder of the Leap the Packers newsletter, NFL writer on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. We come back with Party Like a RothStar. Who had the best weekends? Find out. Rothman and Ice and the Fan.
The sound of Paul Keels calling a Buckeye game is erotic. Oh, yes. Your home of the Buckeyes, the Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Common Man here for Worthington Jewelers. I was the voice of another company for a long time, and then my good friend Bob Capace changed my mind about the jewelry experience. 25 years of local, 25 years of relationships. Experience the difference for yourself just like I did. The spring bridal sale is going on right now. You buy one, you get one 50% off. The best prices of the year on natural and lab-grown diamonds. Worthington Jewelers on High Street in Worthington, worthingtonjewelers.com.
For 100 years, our passionate Atlas Butler has been helping people. From those who have relied on us for years to those who call us for the first time. For our team, their families, and our community, Atlas Butler is here to keep Central Ohio safe and comfortable with trusted, convenient service. Call today, get it fixed today. That's our pledge to you.
Atlas Butler is at your service. Call 1-800-FURNACE.
The best matchup is you in a new ride at Coughlin Chevrolet, Central Ohio's #1 Chevy dealer. Lease a new 25 Chevy Trax, $149 a month. Your choice, new 25 Trailblazer or 24 Blazer EV RS. Lease for $169 a month. At all 5 Coughlin Chevy locations and CoughlinChevrolet.com. Together, let's drive.
36, 42, and 24-month leases, 10,000 miles per year, 25 cents per mile over, $39.99 due at signing plus tax, title, and license. See dealer for details. Ends 3/31/25.
March is on at Lindsay Honda. Shoot your shot and save. It's madness. You get to choose your finance rate on over 600 new Lindsay Hondas. 0%, 1.9, 2.9, and up to a full 60 months long. And no trade-in required. This deal works with 0 down. March is on at Lindsay Honda. Save with rates as low as 0% at lindsayhonda.com. Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference.
See lindsayhonda.com for details.
Hoops fans, are you ready to score big and get lucky this March? What's up? It's T-Bone. I'm here to tell you that Bud Light will be holding mini hoops challenges at bars and restaurants across town over the next several weeks with one goal in mind: to send one lucky local winner to Las Vegas where they'll compete for $10,000. Take your shot at March Madness glory. This week, join Bud Light on Thursday night as they take over Pastimes New Albany on North Hamilton Road. They'll be there from 8 to 10 p.m. and they'll have a mini hoops basketball challenge that'll give you a shot at a Vegas trip and $10,000.
A pepperoni pizza for the table.
Thank you.
May I suggest trying it with our Pepsi Zero Sugar? It has just the right amount of sweetness to complement all that cheesy, saucy goodness, while the carbonation and notes of citrus enhance the flavor profile. Simply divine.
Pepsi Zero Sugar? You've really outdone yourself this time. Pizza deserves Pepsi.
The Fan app is about to become your new best friend. Your one-stop shop for all your favorite Fan shows. ESPN Columbus and BetQL. Live or on demand, listen on your schedule. Download the 97.1 The Fan app today. It's free. Do it.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter? Right? And the best part? They accept Discover. Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right. So we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
The Fan Guest Hotline is sponsored by Right Way Heating and Cooling and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep you and your home comfortable. The Fan.
Let's all gather into the Kiki. It's time to party like a RothStar.
All right, boys. A lot going on since Friday. Maddie, I may start with hoops.
All right, what you got? What you got?
Now, this team didn't qualify for the Big Ten Conference Tournament.
Okay.
And they would have to receive an offer to play in the NIT and the College Basketball Crown or whatever that is, CB. The Penn State Nittany Lions, they went to number 12 Wisconsin on the Badgers Senior Day, and they shot 60% in the second half, including 6 for 11 from beyond the arc. And they beat them by 11, preventing the Badgers from the double bye in the Big Ten tournament. And also, they trailed by 13 in the first half. They were toast. They held the Badgers without a field goal over the final 3 minutes and 45 seconds. And here's the bow that I'll put on their little gift. And it's not much, but the Nittany Lions road win at Wisconsin was the first in 30 years.
Wow.
30, and they had really nothing to play for, I don't believe. I mean, they were 5-14 in the conference, and they last won at the Fieldhouse January 26th of 1995. So the Penn State must have partied that up. You go into whiskey and you beat a top 12 team, and on a big day for them, and once they got up 13, maybe Wisconsin said, all right, they're going to give up. They never did. So I'll tell you, I think that's a party like a RothStar moment for them.
No, I like it. I like it a lot. I'm sticking with basketball as well, but I'm starting in the NBA because we got to talk about Nikola Jokic. This dude is just different. That's all he is. He's just built different. Last night against the Oklahoma City Thunder, 35 points, 18 rebounds, 8 assists, a steal, and a block as well, and only 1 turnover in the game, which is bananas when you watch him play and you realize how much he has the basketball in his hands. But that game was tremendous last night. But a couple nights ago, that being Friday night, Nikola Jokic made history again, becoming the first player in NBA history to record a 30, 20, and 20 triple-double, which is wild to say, right? It's rare that you can be a guy or a gal in any sport and be the first to ever do it in the history of that league. That's what Jokic did against the Phoenix Suns on Friday night. 31 points, 22 assists, 21 rebounds. Those 22 assists were the most in a game by a center in the history of the league. This guy just cooks up production every single night. It was also the 7th time this season that Jokic had at least 15 points, 15 rebounds, and 15 assists in a game. He tied the Big O, Oscar Robertson, for the most in a season in NBA history. Right now, he's 3rd in the league in points per game, 2nd in assists as a big man. MVP, Nikola Jokic. He might be hunting down SGA for that MVP this year, but currently he's partying like a RothStar.
All right, I'm sure you guys talked about this yesterday, but the guy still had 4 years left on his deal. And the last 100 days, I saw this on Instagram, last 100 days for Josh Allen.
Winning.
MVP, engaged.
Haley Steinfeld.
Engaged, and then a 6-year extension worth $330 million with $250 guaranteed. Now, it's the most guaranteed money given to a player in NFL history.
Yep.
And it keeps him in Buffalo through 2030. The fact that it's only $20 million more than Deshaun Watson is laughable and cryable. But it takes him from the 14th highest average annual value amongst quarterbacks to tied for 2nd Dak's still the highest. But it's when you think about what he is, I know he doesn't have a Super Bowl, but he's the first player in NFL history to have at least 25 touchdown passes, 10 touchdown runs with fewer than 10 picks in a season. And he finished with 28 TDs, 12 rushing touchdowns, 6 picks. He's accounted for 260. Here's the big stat. He's accounted for 260 touchdowns in his career, passing, running combined, 260. That's the most in a player's first 7 seasons in NFL history, and it's 29 more than the next closest in Patrick Mahomes. So, but $250 million guaranteed, and he had 4 years left on his deal. They know what they have. They know where the money's going, and now he'll, like Burrow, make about $3.2 million per game. Per game.
Yeah. Josh Allen partying like a RothStar. Second candidate for me. You know how we identified in the college football playoff, hey, that Ohio State team coming out of the seeding and where they are, you don't want to see them coming. I think in the NBA, that's starting to happen out on the left coast because there's some of those top teams in the West right now, OKC, Denver, Memphis, the Lakers, and they're looking down in the standings right now and seeing the Golden State Warriors creeping up on everybody and their mama because the Golden State Warriors have won 5 in a row, 9 of their last 10, 12 of their last 14. The Jimmy Butler trade is exactly what they needed. He fits the culture. He and Draymond bring that tough grittiness, that attitude, all of that. They bring the smoke. But more importantly, Jimmy Butler can relieve Stephen Curry of some offensive duties. You guys up and down that roster like Buddy Hield, Gary Payton II, that gave him 20-plus points off the bench last night. Jimmy Butler hits him with a triple-double. In the month of March, Steph Curry is back to being the absolute assassin that we know he is. 29 points, 7 assists a night, 4 rebounds a night, 42% from 3, 95% from the free throw line, 47% overall from the field. This Warriors team is coming, man. We know they got championship DNA, and this is a team I don't think anybody's going to face in the postseason because Jimmy Butler has unlocked the Golden State Warriors and have them looking like a contender in the West. Golden State Warriors right now partying like a RothStar.
All right, I'll go to the golf course for my last one. Russell Henley absolutely stole a golf tournament this weekend. Now he's a top 10 player in the world. Even though he said he didn't feel like a top 10 player in the world, who cares? You are one. He's number 7. He won the Arnold Palmer, playing the last 7 holes in 5 under. So he won by a shot over Colin Morikawa Bell, and it's Henley's 5th PGA Tour win, first since 2022. And this is a course he thought he'd never win on. And this has happened now early on in the tour where Bay Hill is kind of a bomber's paradise. And Henley ranked 168th in driving distance this season. So $4 million, by the way. Not bad for a week's work in Orlando. He can afford Disney for his family. Probably buy that Lightning Pass, too.
There we go.
If he wants to skip the lines.
There we go.
Russell Henley, partying like a RothStar.
You know who else is partying like a RothStar? That is the Columbus Men's Clinic, because it is the largest and most experienced men's health practice in Columbus. If you've been waiting, fellas, to treat your low T or ED, or maybe you had a bad experience with one of those clinics that open quickly and close, they don't really know what they're doing, don't worry about that. The Columbus Men's Clinic is where you need to be because it's time to get in there and move forward with your gym goals, your career, and your sex life. They specialize in seeing guys who think they're out of luck regain hope that they can be successful in the bedroom and beyond. Go see the team that for 10 years, again, 10 years, guys, has been number 1 in Ohio for men's health. Stop thinking about it and get in there. Call 614-300-7400. That's 614-300-7400, or go online to columbusmensclinic.com to book an appointment today. columbusmensclinic.com.
All right, SportsCenter update here, top of the hour. And from perceived hot seat to a king on his throne, Ryan Day, and the power ranking of college football's coaches, one man says recency bias is not going to play a part. And we'll lay him out for you next. Rothman and Ice and the Fan.
If you haven't thought about Buckeye football today, I'm sorry to tell you that you're dead. Our condolences. Your home of the Buckeyes, the Fan.
It's been a great run. Care Heating and Cooling has achieved goals I could only imagine 30 years ago. But now it's time for the next generation to take over. This is Mike Weens, now the retired founder of Care Heating and Cooling with my sons, Dennis and Ryan.
Dad, as Care grew over the years, you had many opportunities to sell Care to one of the big conglomerates that are buying companies all over Central Ohio. So tell our customers why you decided to keep Care in the family.
After talking about Care's values for over 30 years, I couldn't bear the thought of Care becoming the kind of company I was warning our customers about. I know the two of you will continue to treat our customers as I would, with honesty and integrity.
We will, Dad. In 2024, Care was awarded a BBB Torch Award for Ethics and was named the Lennox Partner of the Year. You don't earn those awards by leaving cat toys behind.
Call Care Heating and Cooling at 1-800-COOLING or schedule an appointment online at careheatingandcooling.com. When you need a company you can trust.
You know that thing you've always been too scared to go for? It seems like you'll never have the guts. Then a cancer diagnosis. And doing that thing becomes way less scary. I would know. I've always wanted a black belt. And today, the only thing standing in my way is a few wooden boards. It's been a lot of hard work and 5 years since I beat cancer at Ohio Health. Bring it on. You keep making plans.
Visit ohiohealth.com/keepmakingplans to learn more.
Hey, what's up? It's T-Bone. Guys, listen up. How many of you out there have been diagnosed with sleep apnea? Maybe your partner can't tolerate your snoring every night. You can't stand your CPAP machine. I totally get it. But the good news is there are alternatives to the CPAP machine. And Dr. Mark Levy is here to change your sleep and your life. Trust me, your spouse will thank you later. Dr. Mark Levy can customize an oral appliance that opens your airways, helps you breathe better, and of course, stops your snoring. That's the main point. It's quick and comfortable and an alternative to those bulky, loud CPAP machines you always hear about. For over 15 years, Dr. Mark Levy has led the way when it comes to treating snoring and sleep apnea, and now he's expanding his practice to better serve his patients with a brand new location in Marysville. I love Marysville. If you're snoring and not sleeping, you need to call Dr. Mark Levy's office today. Do not delay. Schedule your appointment today with Dr. Mark Levy at 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. That's 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. You can also visit him online at sleepbettercolumbus.com. And now, sleepbettermarysville.com too.
Welcome to Tire Discounters.
Thanks. I gotta warn you, I drive a hard bargain.
Okay.
So let's hear your first offer.
Well, how about, with any 4-tire purchase, we'll give you a free alignment.
Man, I'm good. All right, let's do it before you change your mind.
And we'll also give you a free oil change.
Ha! I can't believe I talked you into this deal. Sometimes I amaze even myself.
Don't tell accounting. But with any 4-tire purchase at Tire Discounters, you get a free alignment and a free full synthetic oil change. See store for details.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from...
We can be twinsies.
...to...
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom.
Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
Buying a home used to feel like a complete headache. Listings here, pre-approval there, financing somewhere else. Now, Rocket is giving every home one address. Rocket.com. A single seamless homeownership platform to help you find, buy, sell, finance, and refinance your home. Everything you need, all under one roof. Visit Rocket.com, the new home for all things home ownership. Rocket, own the dream.
For a limited time at Verizon, you can get our best price ever. That's 4 lines on unlimited welcome for just $25 a line per month with autopay plus taxes and fees. You'll also get the new iPhone 16 Pro, 4 of them for the entire family when you trade in up to 4 phones from our top brands. That's a new phone for everyone, only on the network you can count on. Verizon. Visit a store today. 20 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply for phone offer. See Verizon.com for details.
Lowe's knows that your deadlines don't change, even when your job does. But with Lowe's Buy Online, Pick Up in Store, we'll help you adjust on the fly. And when you absolutely can't leave the project, we can deliver to your job site as soon as same day. Lowe's knows pros. We help, you save. Valid on eligible in-stock orders and select zip codes placed by 2 p.m. for same-day delivery by 8 p.m. Subject to driver availability. Fees vary based on purchase. More terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus. The Fan. Sports. Sports Center.
And I'm Cole Bartemus. The Blue Jackets are still on the road this evening. The road trip will come to a close in Newark, New Jersey, as the Jackets look to grab some invaluable points against the Devils tonight. New Jersey is only 4 points on the CBJ in the Metro standings. Columbus is currently second in the Eastern Conference wildcard, just 1 point behind Ottawa. The race for the final few playoff spots is super tight in the East, so you're going to want to catch tonight's game. We'll have it right here on 97.1. Puck drop at 7, pregame coverage at 6:30. The NFL draft isn't even here yet, and the Cleveland Browns have already engaged in the quarterback shuffle. Last night, the Browns shipped off Dorian Thompson-Robinson and a 5th-round pick to Philadelphia in return for Kenny Pickett. Pickett served as Jalen Hurts' backup this past season, though he did start one game, and the Eagles won that game for whatever that's worth to you. This update is brought to you by Germain Toyota, the best selection of new and used cars in Central Ohio. View their full selection of vehicles online at germaintoyota.net.
Listening to Rothman and Ice, the #1 rated midday show in Columbus.
Sponsored by Pella Columbus, the #1 rated windows and doors in Columbus.
All right, second hour of the program, Jeff Lloyd, Orange and Brown Report 1:30. Start thinking about Brownies in the quarterback situation. And if the rumors are correct that Kirk Cousins is going to be there and you sign Pickett, and then I guess you could add the draft pick to it.
Oh, and you're going 3-man weave in the quarterback room? My mind goes to AR. They go Cousins and Pickett. This is Travis or Abdul at 2. I think I'd be surprised if they triple dipped in the new quarterbacks, 3 different quarterbacks in the same offseason.
Yeah, but the only thing you could say is that what I said earlier, which is Kirk Cousins doesn't solidify
your future.
Anything about it. He's going to be 37 when the season starts, and he had an Achilles tear not long ago. So whatever he is, he's not your future.
No doubt.
And so unless you believe that you're the one, of all teams, you're the one to get Kenny Pickett right, and the Browns the Browns have no history of saying, hey, send him our way. We'll get him right.
That's not the lottery ticket that I think Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski need to be betting.
I'm all in on they're still thinking quarterback, even with Cousins.
Okay.
Then you don't have to play Shador or Cam right away.
See, I think they.
And then you'd have Kirk as a mentor to the young quarterback.
That's definitely a possibility. It may be in play to where they don't love either one of the guys, or Cam or Shador, and say, we'll pass on this year's class. We'll get a difference maker, whether that's Travis or Abdul at 2, and then we'll roll with Kirk for a year or 2 or whatever it is and try to find our guy down the line. That's an interesting scenario that you just brought up there, because for me it feels a little too much for me in one off season to do that, because Kirk,
it's too much.
I think he brings a certain level of respect into your franchise with his resume, and he, I think, would deserve an opportunity to be the guy. For me personally, until it doesn't work.
He could be, because it's not like you're the one paying Kirk 30.
I just think with you bring in Pickett, that's your backup, and I think this is going to turn into Kirk Cousins being the guy. And I would not go and draft one of Cam or Shador if that's the moves I made already. I would go get Travis Hunter and take him at 2.
Well, I think the only reason you would do that is if you didn't like
Cam or Shador.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, if Cousins is on this team by the weekend and he's supposedly competing with Kenny Pickett for the quarterback 1 job, then that makes a lot of sense if the Falcons decide to pay him $27.5 million to go instead of $37.5 million to back up Michael Penix. Of course that should happen. I don't really know.
CB, if they bring in Kirk Cousins, what do you want them to do at 2?
That's a good question. That's tough, because I don't really trust Andrew Berry with the future of this team. So maybe I probably would go Carter or Hunter.
Yeah, and see, what's the safer bet if you're Andrew Berry? Because I don't know if his job is 100% secure, AR, beyond this season. So you want to give yourself the safest floor. And I think Kirk can scratch and claw and get you to a certain amount of wins that maybe his job would be safe. But what that also is going to require is him, outside of this second overall pick, hitting on a lot of the other draft picks that they had. They have a bunch of picks inside the top 100 this year. So that's the runway he needs to create for himself. The quarterback thing is the elephant in the room. That's the biggest part to any franchise. We all get that. But for Andrew Berry, too, it's about, the Haslam's looking around and saying, okay, this player or these 2 to 3 players that we just got in this year's draft, we know are going to be players for us in the future. I think that's a massive part of the equation for Berry and company this offseason as well.
Listen, they're picking number 2 right now. They're in a really good spot. They're getting one of the quarterbacks if they want one. I don't know how many times they'll be picking this high. Hopefully not that many to CB's liking. And if Tennessee does what some people think they will do, the difference, either take Abdul Carter or trade out of the pick. Now, if they trade out of the pick, and if the Giants come up and somebody comes up to 1 and leapfrogs Cleveland, then that tells me, because I think if Cleveland really, it's weird because I think that they could take either one of these guys and feel okay about it. But I would think if they're deciding on their future, they have to be leaning one way. It can't be just, well, Cam and Shedeur, they're the same guy. We'll just take either one. I just don't think they would think that way. If they think Cam Ward is the guy, then they got to trade. They got to trade to get to number 1. They have to. They have to call Tennessee and say, we'll float you a 6th rounder or whatever. You still get your guy. We get our guy. You get an extra pick. Everybody's happy. Mm-hmm. I think Cleveland would be playing defense against the Giants and somebody leapfrogging them to grab their quarterback. So if that doesn't happen, if they stay at 2, then it makes me think like you're thinking, that they'll get Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter and they'll be fine with it.
My mind goes to Myles Garrett in this as well. And you were out yesterday, so I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it because it's pretty eye-opening. And at the end of the day, maybe it just boils down to exactly that. They offered the man $40 million. He's like, I ain't passing this up, which I get it because every man's got a price. But Myles Garrett, does he recommit to the franchise without knowing what they're doing moving forward at quarterback? And maybe part of the commitment outside of the obvious, which is the crazy money that he's getting and earned at the end of the day because Myles Garrett's a Hall of Famer, is what if he did know the plan of, hey, we got Kirk coming to town. And maybe Myles looked around and looked at the landscape and said, okay, I see that vision. You bring Kirk Cousins up to Cleveland, the guys that we've had the last couple years, maybe in Myles' mind he said, I can rock with that. So I've thought of that as well, AR, is yes, the hundreds of $1 millions he has coming in his way and guarantees is tremendous, but if he's about what he says he's about, and that's contending and getting in the mix, maybe in his gut he looks at Kirk Cousins as that guy that can put the Browns in that realm of football. I don't know.
I think you're thinking correctly. Because, now, I could get in the camp of $40 million a year will make anybody do an about face.
Absolutely.
Like this whole Cleveland to Canton thing, I thought it was overplayed anyway. Myles overplayed it. Because he kept telling anyone that would listen, I'm not into sticking around and not winning. I need to go to a contender.
Yeah.
But what he found out was that Cleveland may have called his bluff halfway. Not called his bluff that they wouldn't pay him more, called his bluff in that we are not trading you. So you can have a messy holdout, you can miss money, you can have the fans yell at you, all that. If you want to have that, we can have that fight. Or we can all get back to the table together and figure this out because we are not trading you. And you and I thought, well, they can say that until they realized what he's worth to them on the trade market. But financially, it was going to be really bad for them to trade him. So the timing was good for them to try to work with him. And you're right. What could they have sold him outside of what we have heard now that may be coming, a veteran quarterback that he feels he can get back to the playoffs with? Mm-hmm. And so I'm with you on it. It seems way too coincidental for him to suddenly turn this around for what? Kenny Pickett? No, that didn't happen before. And even if he knew it was going to happen, it wouldn't have turned him around. The only way it could have happened was if he got a competent quarterback that he felt like the offense was going to come to the party with the defense. And I'm with you. I think that if this happens, we can point to this as the reason. And then also the fact that they gave him a mammoth extension that's $125 million guaranteed or whatever it is. So he got a little bit of both of what he wanted. A chance to stay in Cleveland and win, but we don't know. He doesn't have that quarterback yet. If Kirk Cousins doesn't come to Cleveland, then it was all about the money.
Then it was about the money.
Then it was all about the money. Then because you can't say the things he was saying about contending and I don't want to go from Cleveland to Canton and I need to get to a winner and whatever he was hinting at, that he didn't love the vision of his team in Cleveland. It was, I almost laughed when it happened. It happened Sunday morning, Sunday mid-morning, I think.
Right around there.
Yeah. And I just had to laugh. Like, we talked for an hour about Haslam not meeting with him and like, none of it matters. It's so overrated. It's just.
I think 99.9% of humans in that position would have done exactly what Myles Garrett did.
But he would have gotten paid by another team, though. It wasn't like Cleveland or nothing.
The cap for all these other teams, who knows what all that looks like. You're right. I think if anybody acquired Myles Garrett, AR, to your point, knowing how great of a player he is, you're okay handing over a massive contract the same way Cleveland did. And so for a guy that...
And give him... Not only pay him, but trade him.
All that stuff,
That's what made it so difficult for the other side, too.
So for a guy that was so dug in or seems to be so dug in on the winning aspect of this, he has to know something. And I don't think, AR, and I could be wrong, that a guy at this portion of his career would have that much confidence in one of Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders to come into Cleveland and hit the ground running. Maybe he does, but I don't think that's the case. And I think Kirk Cousins, as a vet, has respect of guys in the league outside of what happened last year, and in Myles' mind thinking, man, we get Mr. You Like That in here? And the fans might be liking what we're doing on Sundays.
He could have gone to Buffalo. He could have gone to Detroit. He could have gone to Washington. He could have gone, right. There were places, I'm not saying they would have had to pay the freight.
Yeah.
And he had 2 years left, but he would have demanded an extension wherever he was going.
Because when he wakes up this morning, the outlook of the team, I don't think infuses a lot of confidence in him nor because nothing has changed on that front outside of the new contract.
Except if Kirk Cousins is going to be there next weekend.
Yeah.
Like then all of a sudden it makes sense.
Yeah.
But from a Brown standpoint, I was almost starting to get in the camp of, all right, bidding war. You call all the contenders and you say, this guy, he's up.
What do you got?
Give us your best offer, put your best foot forward, and let's take the best one. And they could have really held a nice bidding war for a future Hall of Famer.
No doubt.
But now they have him. Browns fans are happy, and here we are. But I had to laugh because he put out a written statement about not going from Cleveland to Canton.
What did I tell you about these
Now
guys?
you're going in a limo.
What did I tell you about these coaches and players? They're all professional, not non-truth tellers.
Like my first instinct, the whole thing was, is he playing quarterback too? They're playing him $40 million. Yeah,
it's pretty wild.
Can he throw it? Because he may have to. All right, we'll come back. We'll hit you those. We'll give you those college coaching rankings by one guy, and we'll see if we agree. Rothman and Ice on the Fan.
A lot has changed in 30 years, but we're still that old shoe that feels worn in and well-loved. And, we smell a little, but you've accepted that. The Fan.
Men, this is Jeff for Tri-State Men's Health. And you've heard me talk a lot about how treating low testosterone can improve your sleep, your workouts, your energy levels, and more. But today I want to talk to you about your sex drive, because low testosterone can have a significant impact on your desire for intimacy. It can even be a factor in erectile dysfunction. And if you're in a relationship or wanting to be in a relationship, a low sex drive could really be a problem. The good news is that if you're like most guys, treating your low testosterone could really change the way you feel about sex, giving you back the flame and desire that is so important when you love someone. So if you're feeling sluggish and tired, if you're not sleeping well, if your workouts aren't that great, and most of all, if your sex drive is more like a putt, make an appointment at Tri-State Men's Health and have your testosterone levels checked. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. And if you start on testosterone the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call 800-900-9654 or go to tristatemenshealth.com. We have 6 offices across the tri-state area to serve you.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Miss, your burger is served.
Thank you.
And if I may suggest a pairing, this is our finest Pepsi Zero Sugar. The sweetness of Pepsi perfectly balances the savory notes of your burger, while the citrus and carbonation elevates the taste for a truly stunning flavor profile. Bon appetit.
Now that is one perfect combination. If this is how the other half lives, I could get used to this. Burgers deserve Pepsi.
Common Man and T-Bone here for the ESPN Bet Sportsbook at Hollywood Casino Columbus. Bone, did you know that March has a lot of college basketball?
Why, yes, I did, Common Man. And the best place to watch all the action and play the action is at Hollywood Casino. You can reserve your table now at HollywoodColumbus.com.
Not only that, every Saturday in March is UFC Fight Night. They're showing every fight on the big screen. Watching at home is boring. Don't be boring.
All the action happens at ESPN Bet Sportsbook at Hollywood Casino Columbus. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Welcome to Nada Yada Island.
Next on Metro's Nada Yada Island podcast.
I almost fainted when the 4 new bombshells arrived. 4 free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G phones at Metro.
No way.
And finding out the 4th line is free. Oh, things got heated.
That's wild. Join Metro and get 4 free Samsung 5G phones. Only at Metro.
Plus tax. Bring 4 numbers and an ID and sign up for any Metro Flex plan. Not available currently at T-Mobile or been with Metro in the past 180 days.
Bobby Carpenter once sold workout equipment on QVC Canada. There's no joke here. That actually happened. Morning Juice with Bobby and Beamer.
Weekdays starting at 6.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty. Do you want to sell your property, however, you need a little help getting through the process? Let's say you have years of belongings in the home. It needs a lot of updating, you're overwhelmed, and you may need help finding a place to go. I will help you. Visit us today at TurboTrackRealty.com or call me now for an all-cash offer and, more importantly, the help you need at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
This is Pause Before You Play, and it's time for more game day picks from local sports fans. You're on the air. Who you got?
Actually, I'm not betting, just chilling and watching the game.
I know that move. A pause. Sounds like you've got a winning strategy.
Exactly. After I set limits and recognized the risk, I knew it was time to stop.
Now that is responsible betting, folks. Sports are fast. Betting shouldn't be. Make a plan at pausebeforeyouplay.org. That's pausebeforeyouplay.org.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Feeling like spring out there today. Get the flip-flops ready. We are in the 70s this afternoon. A lot of sunshine today. A few more clouds tomorrow. Slightly cooler with highs in the upper 60s. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud with your 10 TV weather impact forecast on 97.1 The Fan.
Bet365, the official online sports book of Rothman and Ice. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Matty was a big Browns fan. Scratch that, we mean he's a big fan of the former Browns. Oh, yeah? The Baltimore Ravens. This is Rothman and Ice.
All right, we'll dig in on the Brownies more at the bottom of the hour with Jeff Lloyd. See what he's hearing. Bruce Feldman of Fox Sports and The Athletic does an annual best coaches in college football ranking. It's his personal rankings, and everything's obviously very subjective, but some of it is based on certainly the recency of the success, and why wouldn't it be? And then some guys that have underachieved lately. And the top 3 in his ranking, self-admittedly, he says, was easy. And he said things get kind of a little more complicated right after that. And I think the ones that are most intriguing, and I think he senses it, is did Marcus Freeman, who's had some very, very bad losses, one-offs, the last couple of years, right all those wrongs, or those 2 wrongs, with the run he made this year?
Notre Dame certainly feels so with the extension that they gave him.
I think I think Feldman does too, but he puts him below, and I'll read these off to you. So Kirby Smart gets his number 1 pick. He says it's the easiest call. I think it's longevity and where he's been at the top of the mountain with a couple national titles and, only losing 2 games in the SEC the past 4 seasons, certainly that's going to be there.
He's the guy.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would truly argue with that. The tricky one was where was he going to put Ryan Day? Coming off the title and what he did and flipping the switch, brand new playoff, expanded playoff. Team was in the dumper after the Michigan game. Fans lost faith in the team, lost faith in him. All this, right? The losses against Michigan are stacking up. And I never believed the team was broken. I think it was a stumble, and he admitted it. He got caught playing a game in a phone booth, playing a little bit not to lose. My contention always with the Michigan game was he wasn't trying to prove a point by running the football. He felt he had to win the game. It wasn't a macho thing. He just read, the last 25 winners of this game, they win the rushing battle. We better run the football. And when he was in field goal range, his kicker let him down. His quarterback let him down. And they could have easily won that game 13-10 the same way. They didn't. And he was on the hot seat with a lot of fans, and maybe justifiably so. I think two things can be true at the same time. He can be a really good coach, big picture, and have trouble in the rivalry. It happened with Coop, where he won a ton of games, didn't have success in the rivalry, won a couple of massive games, won the Rose Bowl in comeback fashion. Coop did, kind of stiff-armed the inevitable. And then when things started to really bottom out around 2000, then all of a sudden a change had to be made. With Ryan Day, it was very difficult because of a 70-10 record and the fact that they had lost 4 in a row to Michigan. And we always debated, and I think a lot of people were right, Matty, that he had to make some noise. He loses to Tennessee. Every conversation's on the table.
Gets a little strange for him.
It gets a little strange.
It gets a little strange.
And maybe not with Ross Bjork. Maybe Ross Bjork would have said,
this is our guy.
Let the noise be around us. I believe in you, and we're going to keep going. We're going to invest in the program. You're going to be able to get much talent as you want, and we're going to back you, and we'll keep fighting. And so he put him at number 2.
I have no issue with that whatsoever, especially when you talk about where he ended the year and where the program ended. Kings of the castle right now, that being your Ohio State Buckeyes. And the big picture stuff was always the win percentage was great, right? Handling business against, the Penn States of the world. And you just had the thorn in the side of the Michigan game. And I think he's in a very interesting spot right now to where not only himself, but other coaches on that coaching staff and some of the guys that felt the loss of Michigan last year and the year prior that are going to be on the field this year have this motivating factor within them that you rarely have, in my opinion, when you do win it all, right? Because usually when you win it all, you're checking most of the boxes and the big important boxes along the way. They got to check a lot of the big boxes after the Michigan game, but for them, that's going to be lurking in the weeds, and I think actually pay off in a positive way for this year's team as a motivating factor in the offseason and the early portion of the schedule. But he had to be in the top 3, in my opinion. So the Athletic ranking him right behind Kirby, I think, is exactly where he needs to be. He got himself a new deal, and he always seems to be a head coach that has his head in the right spot and motivated to get this program to higher heights and stay now at the top of the mountain where they were this past year. So, yeah, Ryan's earned that respect around the sport, and, he's in that elite club. He's in that one-of-one club, I think, of head coaches now around college football, and rightfully so.
Yeah, and listen, Feldman wrote in his article that, it wasn't how much does recency bias factor in. He's like, for me, not as much. I think that it's not recency bias. Bias would be the wrong word. But I think he can lean into the recency. There's no way Ryan Day is number 2 if he loses to Oregon.
I think he'd be in the top 5.
He wouldn't be 2.
Who would you have above him? Sark, DeBoer, Lanning? Who do you think would have been up there? Because he would have been. It would be. I think it'd be hard for a lot of people, or at least for me, to have one of those guys over him, unless one of those, especially Sark or Lanning, went on to win the national championship this year.
What if Ohio State wouldn't even have played Texas? Texas gets, if you didn't have that head to head, I'm just thinking.
I just don't know who you'd have above him.
What would have had to have happened for him not to be 2? Lose to Tennessee?
Yeah, I still think he'd be in the top 5.
But would he be 2?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think Bruce. I don't think he would have,
especially if Sark or Lanning goes on to win it all.
What I'm saying is that what he pulled off in the playoff is not recency bias. it's rock solid evidence that he deserves to be where he is.
Yeah.
It's not just, he caught lightning in a bottle and we think he overachieved.
Because of a track record before this.
That's right.
You have the Michigan stuff, yes, but overall, this dude has been a dominant force around the sport. And we're a New Year's Eve field goal away from possibly talking about this guy being a 2-time national championship coach.
Yeah, I think if Lanning would have beaten Ohio State twice and even didn't win at all,
he'd be there.
He'd be too. Yeah, he would be. I think that I think Ohio State winning it all and cracking Oregon over the head with a Louisville Slugger.
Yeah, they did.
Untouchable style was what put Ryan Day at 2 and Dan Lanning at 7 in this poll. I think there is, like I said, I'm not calling it bias. It's recency evidence.
He's got Lanning at 5.
Well, I got him at 7.
I've got right here,
maybe
Kirby, Day, Sark, DeBoer, Lanning.
That's very interesting because I have this. Okay, this is wild.
You know why? Because I think you're looking at.
Did he update it?
No. I think you're looking at Bruce Feldman's and I'm looking at Stuart Mandel's, both from The Athletic.
Oh, yeah. I thought we were doing Feldman. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, all good. So they both have Day at 2 is what you're saying.
Feldman's got Lanning at 7.
At 7.
Below
really?
Freeman, below DeBoer, below Sark, below Dabo.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that's the only one that kind of is blinking to me like, that's interesting. And I'm wondering if Ohio State would have played Oregon to another 3-point game, low-scoring game in the second one at the Rose Bowl, even if he loses that game. I think the way he lost, I think that kind of put him out of sight, out of mind, at least for the top 5.
Which is tough on Lanning's part because big picture.
He's undefeated.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's 1L. You know.
He's 35-6. He won the Big Ten title.
For me, he should be above Dabo right now.
Yeah.
Right now, he should be above Dabo.
Yeah, that's the only one that's kind of like blinking. All right, we'll get with Jeff Lloyd next in 2 minutes, and we'll find out if it's Pickett with a +1 on the invitation. Rothman and Ice on the Fan.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I need new rotors.
When you buy 2 Duralast rotors during our spring sale, you get Duralast brake pads free.
Free?
With the rotors.
Well, that's great. What if I need extra stopping power?
You can upgrade to Duralast Gold pads for just $10.
So Duralast pads are free?
Yep.
And an upgrade is just $10?
That's right. Part of the spring sale at AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply.
A great lawn is like a great sports team. It takes expertise and a little extra care to really stand out. That's where True Green comes in. They're the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour, so they know a thing or two about keeping grass looking like a fairway. It's more affordable than you think, and they'll even match any competitor's price. Plus, True Green backs it all up with a satisfaction guarantee. Head to TrueGreen.com today. Let the pros do the work while you sit back and enjoy the results.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from...
We can be twinsies.
...to...
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom.
Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
Buying a home used to feel like a complete headache. Listings here, pre-approval there, financing somewhere else. Now, Rocket is giving every home one address. Rocket.com. A single seamless homeownership platform to help you find, buy, sell, finance, and refinance your home. Everything you need, all under one roof. Visit Rocket.com, the new home for all things homeownership. Rocket. Own the dream.
Rothman and Ice is sponsored by your local Pella Window and Door showroom on Gemini Parkway. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Hey, kids. Anthony once did magic for birthday parties. See, when you say it out loud, it doesn't sound so bad. Back to Rothman and Ice.
Indeed. All right. Our man, Jeff Lloyd, Orange and Brown Report. Lots circling up there in Cleveland, and we get him on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. Jeff, welcome back, my man.
Fellas, how we doing today?
Outstanding. So where do you stand on the quarterback shuffle right now? Because everyone believes that, okay, Pickett can't be the last move. It'll be a veteran free agent still and or a draft of a quarterback. So give me your latest feeling right now on where you think the Browns are in their quarterback strategy for this season.
Well, I think the thing that where we start here is, look, these conversations have been going on for 2 months. And basically for 2 months we said, look, nobody's really going to be all that appealed or find the appeal in what's going to be the quarterback room for the Cleveland Browns in 2025. So we're kind of already getting to see that here. The Kenny Pickett move, look, you traded away DTR, and I think everybody was in agreement the Browns saw enough to DTR to know that they've seen too much, and he was going to move on. So you bring in Kenny Pickett, you get a quarterback who's better than DTR, 15-10 as a starter. I understand. You're not going to say he's going to be a starter for the Cleveland Browns. People are trying to say, oh, well, he could be in contention. Well, right now, yeah, he's in contention. He's the only starter he's the only quarterback on the roster. So the Kirk Cousins thing certainly has legs. I don't believe the Atlanta Falcons for 1 second. They're in a position where they can maybe have to pay Kirk Cousins $36.5 million this year just to be the backup. I don't think they want to do that. I certainly don't think they want to do it to Michael Penix. That'll get resolved, and I'm assuming Kirk Cousins, and it seems the dominoes and the way the game's working here for Cousins, the most likely scenario would be go where he knows at least something, of course, familiar with, of course, Kevin Stefanski, and comes here, plays with the Browns. They're definitely going to draft somebody. I think they would take Cam Ward in an absolute second if he was available at 2. I think what we've seen from Tennessee in the move they made yesterday, signing free agent offensive tackle Dan Moore. In the last 2 drafts, they went offensive line with their first-round pick twice. So that means, that really looks to me like a team that is building up an offensive line to aid a rookie quarterback. But if Ward was available at 2, I think the Browns would have major interest. I don't think Ward is going to be available. I don't think they have any interest in Shedeur Sanders at 2. I think they would then add another quarterback, certainly Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart. Those are names that you would think that would fit into that equation. The Browns were trying at a time to get more athletic at the quarterback position. The Watson, the Dobbses of the world, certainly DTR. Not sure that that's the route they're going to continue on. Maybe this class and this year and this cycle is just not going to give them the opportunity to do that. And then you think there's probably going to be maybe even yet another trade candidate or veteran coming after that. This team always goes 4 to 5 deep into camp. So you would think with only one on the roster right now, there's still at least 3 more quarterbacks coming in somehow, some way. Look, it's not going to be the greatest looking room here for 2025 unless maybe you could get Cam Ward, and that would have some appeal towards a current room and a future room. But it's not like, anybody didn't see this coming. I think we all knew we were headed to this.
Jeff, let's say they bring in Kirk Cousins, and let's take the quarterbacks off the board, Cam and Shedeur. Between Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, or maybe somebody else, where would you like to see them go? If Kevin and Andrew Bear are confident Kirk Cousins can be our starter for a year or 2, we can bridge this to someone else, maybe in the draft or 2 after that, or free agency, or whatever it looks like. Where would you want them to go with the second overall pick if Shedeur or Cam are not in this equation here?
See, for me, and the thing with Travis Hunter, as amazing as what he did last year in Colorado, we've got to now break that in half. He's just not going to be a full-time 2-way player in the NFL. Maybe a game or 2 here and there is something he could pull off. So then you got to tear it apart, and you got to look at him individually. If you're going to take a wide receiver at number 2 overall in today's NFL, the question I ask myself is he Jamar Chase? Is he Justin Jefferson? That's the bar for being drafted at number 2 overall. The Browns have said they view him more as a receiver than they do a defensive back. But 6 feet, 180 pounds, we don't have any testing numbers yet whatsoever. You're telling me that all of a sudden, you're going to say he's going to give you a return of investment of Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. I'm not sure that that's the case. I think Abdul Carter is absolutely the slam dunk pick here, would be the pick here. You look, and certainly, Barry has some roots with Philadelphia. You look at what worked for the Philadelphia Eagles and getting them the Super Bowl championship. Just having a defensive line that can just create absolute mayhem, just absolute and total destruction becomes a really appealing option, especially for a team that could be struggling offensively because they may not have their ideal starting quarterback just yet. I think the thing with Carter is, and I think a lot of people, you just don't understand. There's going to be some development. Last year was obviously his first year at the defensive end position. You figure he will grow. He's pretty much the consensus best player in this draft. And by year 3 and year 4, when he's starting to totally hit his peak, Myles is here now technically for another 6 years, but you do think at some point there's going to be some regression in Myles' play. So the thinking would be as Carter is hitting his peak performance, maybe that's when Myles is, dialing down just a tad bit from the ultra performer he has been for this entire time. It makes just too much sense because, they have other players, they have other pass rushers. They can, get fancy with it. They can play guys on the inside. They can play guys on the outside, all things that will play up to a Jim Schwartz system. And the Browns defense, and I know a lot of people don't want to talk about it, that was a lot of part of what the overall regression of this team was in 24 is they just did not play nearly as well as they did in 2023.
He's our friend Jeff Lloyd, Orange and Brown Report covering Cleveland. All right, so let's play that out for a second. That for this to happen, that means Tennessee has to not take Abdul Carter. Or I guess they could, if they swapped picks with the Giants and they came up to take a quarterback, then Cleveland would have their pick, certainly of Abdul Carter. So for all that to work, this has to be, and Cleveland can't go up to number 1 to take Abdul Carter if Tennessee wants him. They'll just stay there and make the pick. So what happens if that happens? If Abdul Carter's off the board at number 1, no matter who takes him?
Then I think the Browns are more than okay with taking Cam Ward. I think everybody wants to talk about these two quarterbacks and put them in the same scenario. And it's always going to be a difficult thing when you have a legacy kid like Shedeur Sanders. For months, we didn't hear any negatives. And then you get some draft analysts kind of putting out so it makes it a little bit more comfortable for others to maybe do it. Deion has a legacy in this game. Nobody wants to make this an awkward situation, but, when we actually get to the draft, we're actually going. That's why I think when we actually get draft, we're going to see it for our own 2 eyes that maybe Shedeur Sanders was not viewed nearly as high as some people thought he was going to be. He's a good player. There's times where I look at his tape and I think there's some Drew Brees to him. There's not a question about it, the way the ball comes out. But he takes some really, really bad sacks. And, in the Big 12, yes, he didn't have a great offensive line, but it's going to be nothing like the pass rushers he's going to see when he gets to the NFL. So I think Cam Ward is a guy that they are more than comfortable with. I just think they don't really have that much interest in Shedeur Sanders, and I think that's going to be the overall case for a lot of teams that are sitting in the top 10.
Jeff, what do you want them to do this offseason when it comes to running back?
Look, if the Nick thing can work out, and this was going to be a conversation that nobody wanted to have, and it's starting to come up now, obviously. And even with the Browns saying, Nick is free to explore the market. This is similar to what you went through with Jarvis Landry a few years ago. Jarvis Landry did some really good things for this team, but the Browns financially did not view him as the same player anymore. And with Nick, look at the actuality of what he has done essentially in 10 games in basically the last 2 seasons. What we saw of Nick this year was not that great. Now, how am I supposed to make a determination on what he's going to look like in October, November, based on what I saw in 2023 and then him getting over their broken foot? So I can't put a monetary number on that right now. That's why teams often let their players test the market and then say, hey, whatever your best deal is, come back and we'll see where we're at. Either, I can match it or maybe it's time to move on. But this running back class is just absolutely ridiculous. The Browns have 11 picks. They have a boatload of day 3 picks in round 6. You can get a second running back there. I would honestly draft 2. So, if I want to, find a way to go the big name route, maybe it's Trevion Henderson at like 33, maybe Caleb Johnson if he falls to maybe 67 just because his testing wasn't ideal, and then come around. There's running backs on day 3. The one guy that doesn't get a lot of love in this class who was ridiculous last year for Syracuse, LaQuint Allen, had over 1,000 yards, had 60 receptions, plays into what today's NFL is kind of like. It's a great running back market, and I'll be honest, for a lot of free agent running backs right now, that's what they are basically dealing with. It's not necessarily their resume. It's that teams can get running backs who are younger, cheaper, and have them under control for 4 years as opposed to taking a chance on a veteran at 27, 28, 29 years old on a 1-2 year deal. And, it's really affecting the running back market this year.
Real quick, I just want to throw this at you because this is happening on the fly. Jordan Schultz just reported, Jeff, that the Browns are signing linebacker Joe Tryon Shoyinka, I believe I got